Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we can go through this like one pretty quickly, and I could probably share some stories with you and some insights about the specific things. Um, this has just got a few frameworks inside of it. So one of them is the lean canvas. The other one is a SWOT analysis. That's pretty. That basically just means your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and something threats and your threats. Um, and then there's like cool stuff like a pirate funnel, 4 P's of marketing. There's a bunch of frameworks in here. I'm not. I don't want to overly throw you guys with some frameworks, but these are just some of the ones you can and you don't have to use. I do recommend the lean canvas though. That's quite good. So what's the lean canvas? 1 page business plan. It just creates it's just a snapshot of your business so that you can easily communicate it. And what does that look like? It's like this. Basically, you've got your problem. So, what problems are people facing? What's their top 3 frustrations? The existing alternatives. How are these problems solved today? This can be a direct competitor offering or existing ways. So, for example, let's talk about a car. What problems are people facing? Well, they have to go from point A to point B. Um, uh, it takes a while to get there if they don't, if they're on public transport or something. And what are the existing alternatives? Well, cars actually already exist. You've got public transport, you've got horses. If this was 100 years ago and they were doing this, it'd be like, horses was the main transport. Solution, how will you solve these problems? Write down a solution for each of the problems. Your key metrics, how will you measure the success of your product or service? So this is quite important when you're building a company because you really want to be able to know what are the drivers of your business, and you want to be monitoring those. Um, this is the most important unique value proposition. So this 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 is what makes you unique, like how from everybody else. So everyone that already has a sort of a similar product, you don't want to go into a market where everyone already has same products. You need something unique about about your proposition that really blows everybody else out the water. So that way you can scale and grow massively while they're still trying to catch up. So you need something really unique. Um, and that's and this is uh, sort of a prelude to the unfair advantage. So what separates you from your competitors and what makes you ahead of the pack? You need something that like really is like 10x better than everybody else, or a multiple better than everybody else. If it's not, you can still have a successful business. It won't likely be a massively successful business. It can probably be a nice small business, a lifestyle business perhaps. And that's sort of a question you need to ask yourself. Is it going to be a lifestyle business, or is this something that you really want to sort of impact, change the world, take on a big part of the industry? And if that's the case, you need to have a solid unfair advantage. Um, you can put down your high level concept as well. How does your product or service fit into the grand scheme of things? This is quite important. The channels, how will you reach your target consumers? So, is it going to be direct marketing, social media, ads, partnerships? Identify the effective ways that you think you can reach your customers. Um, the important part about this is what was I going to say? You need like everyone thinks that everyone is the customer of their product, and so that like just going everywhere, marketing it everywhere, people will reach you, but that doesn't actually work. You really need to identify your customer segments, sort of who are you going to help specifically, and you can draw like personas of them, and then based on that you can write the channels as to where do you reach them. So I'll show you a way to do that. So we have these things called personas. What that means is, and if I'm using a lot of lingo, just tell me like, hey, that's too much lingo. I don't. What does that mean? What a persona is, it's basically just a little snapshot of your customer segment. So you can have, for example, a photo of Roy. What's his name? Roy. What does he do? Roy like does sort of anxiety coaching. What is his needs and wants, and what are his challenges? So that's what's in a persona, is you try to identify a potential customer, and you can look around, look to your friends, look to whoever uh, that your potential business is for, and what are they like, and you can put who they are in a little snapshot, in a little persona. I'll show you quickly what that looks like. Persona, it's just like that. Yeah, it's very, very simple, just like their name, their wants and needs, what their frustrations are. And you want to create a couple of these, like three or four of them, for your idea. And then that's who you're sort of targeting, and that's who you're thinking about. If you are your own customer, that's very helpful, because you have more insight into who they are. So you create a couple of those just to kind of feel like who's going to buy this, who's interested in it, and then how can you reach them? Sort of where do they hang out? Are they people that spend every day on Facebook? Are they people that spend every day on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on in person? Are they, if you're targeting homeless people, they might not have access to the internet. If that's your customer, it's going to be a bad customer because they don't have any money. But um, um, you know what I mean? Like, how do they hang it? Where do they hang out? What are they influenced by? Is what you kind of want to understand. Um, and then some early adopters. So what this means is who's going to be the early one of your customer segments that will adopt it, and what are the specific characteristics of those early adopters. So is there something about them, like, is it that women are probably more likely to sort of take on board your product because, for example, it's a fashion product or something? That's sexism, sorry. But like, for example, like what are the sort of specific characteristics that they will take on? Like, is it somebody that's if it's a sporting product and somebody that needs it as an athlete, and they would be your early adopters, rather than like, because they need it now, they're paying professionally for that. They don't mind paying for the product. Whereas somebody who's just training, or like in an amateur league of like playing soccer or something, um, or football if you're in the UK, doesn't really need really advanced football boots, for example. But your early adopter might be a sort of a pro athlete. So what are the sort of early specific characteristics of somebody that will take it on early on? Then your cost structure. So what are the fixed and variable costs to launching your product or service? Consider like the cost of like setting up a website, hiring employees, marketing, and bringing it to the consumers. Sort of. So what does that look like in terms of the cost? Like if there's fixed costs, like you just, if it's say you're making a product, for example, a new Coca-Cola, let's say, like a different kind of drink, your fixed cost will be how much it costs to get the liquid and the can. The variable costs can be the marketing costs and the production and the hiring costs. So you don't need to hire people to do that. If you do, that you want to take account for that. And then your revenue streams, sort of what money sources will grow, what sources uh, of revenue will you use to grow the business? Sort of how would you generate income? You can have all sorts of different revenue streams. Usually this follows the power law, which means like the 80/20 principle, which means that one revenue stream will make up for 80% of your profit. And that could be if it's a software product, it could be your subscription fees. Like maybe you charge $20 a month or $200 a month for a specific product. Or if it's, say you're running a hairdresser as a business, your revenue stream would maybe it'd be walk-ins, people that are just walking in, So it matters more if you're in a place that has a lot of traffic and a lot of people are walking past, if that's your main revenue stream. So you really want to think through sort of what your main revenue streams are, for the business. And you use this, you can like, you'll go through like 100 iterations of these, and this is just a quick way to sort of highlight what your business is like and how you can communicate that to other people and some of the things that you can change. Are there any sort of questions on that stuff? Yeah. So
I think that makes sense. I've like scribbled down some things that might fit in with current ideas, but I think there's a time you have to sit down and think about it in depth.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, fair. Yeah, exactly. So all of these things you go into more in depth, while you're while you're actually building your business. This is just to sort of kickstart blueprint your business. Um, for example, the problem you're solving, you can spend like 2 months just talking to your customers before you even create any sort of solution. And this is what I recommend. I literally spend even myself many weeks just doing customer interviews. So that would be like who your potential customer personas are. Um, Literally reaching out to them on LinkedIn, on messaging, on the street, even if you're like, well, hang on, that looks like somebody that could be my customer segment. They're like, they're in my age range because say you're targeting 30 to 40-year olds and you spot one, you go just have a chat with them. Um, and you literally ask them about when's the last time. You don't sell them a product. You literally ask them, when's the last time you did X, or when's the last time you did Y. And what you're trying to do is formulate how their life works, and how they interact with the potential problem that you're looking at. um, I've had friends that have spent years sort of pivoting, just based on the problems alone and just really trying to understand their customer. Like I had a friend, it took him 5 years and about 12 business ideas in the same industry just to finally find his footing. And when he finally found out what problem he's solving, and who's willing to pay for it, yeah, then he was able to raise $1 million and build a business off the back of it. So don't be too like, this is an ongoing process, um, and it can take a lot longer than you think. But I would recommend the first thing you do is map out who the potential customer segments are, and go speak to 20 of them. That's the first thing you should do. Speak to 20 of them, see if you can identify the problems. Try not to put words in their mouth. There's a really good book on this if you want to learn more, called the Mom Test. It's like never talk to your mom about your idea, because they'll probably be like the biggest supporters and be like, "This is an amazing idea," or like, "Good on you for doing this." That is horrible customer feedback, um, because you don't want to be told what you want to hear. You need to be told by people. It's much better to get bad feedback, than just to get good feedback, because you really want to hear the shit, like why they won't be interested in what you're telling them about, or whether they actually really have that problem. So like, I could pitch you a new Facebook, but it's like, well, why should I, like, okay, why do I need a new social media presence? I've already got like 10 of them. There's too many existing alternatives. But then you're like, oh, but this on this Facebook, it means that like you can, I don't know, you have more privacy, or you can earn money while you're on there. It's like, that's not really a problem, as to why people would be using Facebook. They use Facebook because their friends are on it already. Call that the network effects in business, and that they're able to connect with their friends and message them. That like, unless those are the two main problems that Facebook solves, and so unless they have a huge problem using them, you're not really going to be able to break into that market. Um, cool. So that's a little bit about the lean canvas. Are there any other like questions on that? I can send you this afterwards if you guys want as well. We've got we've
Yes,
got
please.
two that joined. What was that, Amy?
Yes, yes, please.
All right,
To
cool.
send
No
To
worries.
send the lean canvas template.
Perfect. Will do. I've got a bunch of other slides and things that I can sort of explain. I want to hear. So we've got Zabeda and Chris. I want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you want to learn out of today? Feel free to say it or chuck it in the messages, and then I'll have a look at it. All right, cool. I'll keep going. Yeah, just feel free to chuck in that there. Um, when you get that going, you want to find out your competitive position with a SWOT analysis. So after you've pointed those things out and you've spoken to 100 customers, so you should speak to 100 people just to understand the problem first. Um, After you've done that, and I know that sounds scary, but it's actually not. Just literally, just hey, can I grab a coffee with you? I'd love to talk to you about. I'd love to learn more about you. I'd love to talk to you. People like that. Um, like uh, like your like when somebody speaks to them and just wants to understand them. So don't be shy doing that. Then you want to get into a bit of a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis maps your company's path towards your goals by identifying the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. So as you establish more and more yourself, you wanna figure out what strengths your company have, and by company it would be you and whoever else is your co-founders or early people that you're working with. Um, what advantages do you have? So if you're selling a product that requires manufacturing, but you know nothing about manufacturing, well, that's a bit of a weakness, and maybe you need to bring somebody in that knows a little bit about that. Um, if your product is what's a good example? Product is software. You sh- you need somebody that is a software engineer or understands software and product very well to sort of get that going. But that's if you're selling a sort of an engineering software product for other software engineers. If you just want to create some software for say it's a hospital product, like you want to sell some software to a hospital, you need to really understand the mechanics of how a hospital works and who the decision makers are there, who pays for it, who are the purchasers, that kind of thing. So you need some strengths in that area. If not, you need to go and improve on those things. You need to figure out if those are the things you lack. How can we improve those things? Um, then the opportunities and what changes in technologies, policies, and social patterns can be a growth opportunity for the company. So if everybody's like, for example, when everybody moved to using iPhones and smartphones, that was a change in sort of the social populace, a change in how people use technology. So there's an opportunity to start providing services and products through smartphones. So you can track things like that and sort of what are the trends that are happening in society that you can sort of take advantage of. And then what are your threats? So what are the obstacles to growing the company? Who are the competitors? What changing factors can threaten your company's position as you go ahead? Um, that could be like, for example, you're a physical retail shop, and then the threat is that like there's an internet coming. Everybody's using to buy stuff more online, and you're still just operating offline. That could probably wipe you out if you've got competitors with an easier distribution channel that people are happy to buy from. So there's another little framework that you can sort of visualize your company's weak points. It's called a pirate funnel because it spells out R. It's a bit of a funny one. Again, you don't have to use all of these frameworks. I do recommend the lean canvas, and as you're going on, a bit of a SWOT analysis is good. Um, This one is your awareness, acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral. So for your awareness, how you introduce your company to potential customers. Is it sort of online through your click-through rate, your social media metrics? Is it on TikTok? What's the way you're trying to give people awareness? Is it literally in a shopping center putting up a kiosk, a stall? It could be all those things. This sort of helps you figure out that funnel. Um, then you can look at where the potential customers are coming from, what channel is driving the most valuable traffic. So it could be like you're putting out emails once a month, and that and that's converting the highest from all your list, from everybody in your audience. It could be that referrals are driving the most acquisition. So you could, and that could be like, it could be one person that's just really good at sort of pushing your product. Um, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine had a sock business. He was selling funky socks. Um, and a percentage of that business would go to charities. So it'd be like you buy a funky, cool looking sock which has all sorts of characters on it, and 10% or 20% of it would go to a charity. That was his idea. I was like, oh, I want to sell some socks. People need socks, right? People like funny socks. Let me try selling these things. So he first started by doing like market stalls, and he was selling a few, and that was good. What he realized over time, he was trying to sell them online the most. So he was pushing them online, doing like Facebook ads, doing word of mouth, doing sort of fun videos, things like that, to try to build that up. What he realized over time was that his biggest acquisition source was actually um, New York City barbershops. So he was stocking New York City barbershops and doing some merchandising inside their store, just hanging them up in there. And the hipsters that like would go into that store loved it the most, and so they would buy the most. Um, so he was like trying to build an online business, and then it turns out his biggest acquisition was from like actual hipster barbershops. Um, so that's what I mean by like your customer segments. You'll understand sort of where that how that changes your business and pitch. And so for him to increase his to grow his business, it's like cool. Well, it seems like they're buying the most. Let me go find other hipster barbershops in every other city, and maybe I'll stock my product there. So that's just to give you a story on that. Um, Activation, how will your potential customers try your product or service for the first time? Would it be new trial signups, product sales, activations after app downloads, if it's an app, for example? Or there are some like clothing businesses that went online, or shoe businesses that went online. Um, they offer like one of the biggest problems of people when Zappos was starting was they were scared that like, oh, if you buy something online, like would the customer say the size isn't right, like you buy a shoe or you buy clothes, the size isn't right. Well, fuck, now I'm stuck with like the product, and I couldn't get the size. So that was a big buying hurdle for their customers. So what they decided to offer was, you've got free refunds basically, and returns. So you can try it. If it doesn't work, you just put it in the postage, and we'll refund you the money of the postage. That got people over the uh, the fear of buying online clothes and shoes and stuff like that, and became a core part of them selling that. So you want to think about how they'll try those things out. Retention, how many of your customers are you retaining? Why are you losing others? So you'll learn these as you go on about customer acquisition rates and your customer churn rate. So once you bring in a customer, you usually want to figure out um, how many customers, say you bring in 100 and 10 decide to buy your product, that's your customer acquisition rate, like how many you're actually getting. Um, uh, and and then your customer churn rate is then how many of those 10 customers are you keeping? Are they coming back and consistently buying from you, or after that they buy from you once, and then they drop off and go somewhere else and buy from somewhere else. You really want to figure out with those customers why they're dropping, and to increase that. For example, I had a friend. They had a online business. Um, they were selling clothes online, and what they were really good at was bringing people on the website to buy their products. But the problem that they were facing was a lot of people would put the clothes in the cart, uh, and then wouldn't buy from the cart, like wouldn't complete the sale. They just keep them in the cart. And they were like, well, shit, why is this happening? Like, we have such a low rate of people closing the deal, but we have a lot of people showing customer intent, like buying intent, that they put it in the cart. And so they actually got like some psychologists to kind of come in and do some user research on this, because they were pretty like annoyed, like why are people dropping off. And then he realized that like if they just changed the wording of some of the buttons, so some of the buttons was like, I think it was, I'm trying to remember. It was like pay now or buy now or something. And what they had to change that to is, he was like, change it to continue. Instead of scaring people as to like it, their customers were a bit funny in that if you allowed them to feel like they were continuing to do something rather than actually making that decision, it means that they're more likely to actually make that decision. So changing a button from buy to like continue, and then get them to the buy screen, um, help them uptick their sales from like 1% to like, I think it was like 5% or something. So there are funny things like that that you can experiment with. We call it like A/B testing. So you try different things and see what increases your revenue. Um, Cool. So that's a little bit about that. So you got your revenue. How do you increase your revenue? And then referrals. How will you introduce your company to potential customers? You can have people that refer people to your business. So you can create systems where, like Amazon does, where if you buy my product and you referred that, you get a percentage commission. It's like 5% or 10% on the sale. So if you sell it for $100, they make like $5 or $10. So you can create referral systems there. There is this another framework called the 4 Ps of marketing. It's very famous. You probably heard of it. Um, so the 4 Ps of marketing is how product, price, place, and promotion work together when a product or service is launched to customers. It's created in the 1950s, and it demonstrates the way companies can use advertising and marketing techniques to convert potential buyers into actual customers. So you can start filling out your own using one of those. Where's my? I might have lost it. Sorry about that. I might have lost my 4 Ps here. So it seems like I just put the canvas. But you can look that up. Let me see if I can just bring it up for you. 4 Ps. Okay. Just be a quick image here. Yeah. So you literally just for example, where um it's a better way. Yeah. Like in terms of the product, like what's the variety, quality, packaging. That's all about the product, the place where you're selling it, how uh, like for example, my friend's hipster barbershops thing. Where are you going to find this product? Is it on Facebook? Is it etc. The price and how much is it? And then the promotion, sort of what channels you're pushing things into. You can use that as a quick framework to kind of create your marketing plan. The main thing that you should try to understand is product market fit. I'll take this one step further and do product market founder fit. So founder is you, starting a business. What you really want to know is uh, is your startup in a good market that can satisfy and with a product that can satisfy the market? Finding the difference between product market fit is the difference between struggling to find customers and having them knock down your door. This helps you identify target customers and their underserved needs. Very important to find the underserved needs, because if it's currently served, you're going to have trouble breaking into the market. And then you can test and change your key market hypothesis to arrive at your product market fit. You can use the framework to do this. So product market fit is after you talk to your 100 customers, is you want to figure out from what they say without pushing the product whether they'll actually buy the product, whether they have the problem, the underserved needs that then the product can solve. Um, you can do this in many ways. So some of the ways you can do this is literally just chucking up like a very basic website using like Wix or Squarespace or something. You put some images of the product if it's a physical product. If it's an app product, you can create renders, like basically drawings of your product before you even create the product. You just make drawings of it, and you make it look like it exists, and then you put a purchasing page, like basically a page where you can buy the product from, like a buy now button, basically. Um, then you push that to the 100 or 200 customers that you've been talking to, or potential customers you've been talking to. You try to run some ads, like Facebook ads or whatever, to try to see if you can sell that that pretend product. And this does sound unethical, but it's not. And I'll tell you why. You try to sell a fake product, and then if they go for it, then you've proven buying intent. So it means that they will actually buy the product. Um, then what you do is you just refund the money and be like, look, sorry, the product's not ready yet. Apologies. We're just trying to check. We're just trying to understand buying intent. Um, do you mind, like, do you mind if I send you an email when the product is ready? That way they don't lose any money. They might get a little bit annoyed that they thought your product already exists, but you've established whether they will actually buy the product. There's a big difference between people saying that they will buy the product, even in the customer interviews, that even if they say they're interested, and then actually paying for that. And what you need to check is whether they'll actually pay for it. That way you can validate whether the market is actually there for your product. And that's before spending money on like creating the product, or establishing it, or hiring engineers, or whatever it is it needs to get your product. You need to see whether you can actually get some sales. Um, the reason I'd say product market founder fit is you as a based on your experience, that say you're a nurse or you're a truck driver or whatever, you are best placed to understand your own problems and your own underserved needs in that market. Um, it's much harder to go like uh, I'm a nurse, but I want to solve a problem for taxi drivers. It's much harder to sort of understand that market and get into that market than it is if you actually have experience in that market. So that's why I'd say like try to figure the founder market product market founder fit. It makes it a lot easier to understand the underserved needs rather than putting words in people's mouths. Be like, I actually had this problem. Uh, are there any questions on that so far? Yeah, cool. Nice meeting you too, Chris. You left. Cool. So these are basically the things that you need to do to bring a product to market. So you want to identify your target customer. You can use market segmentation and create personas to get a picture of the people you're targeting. And I'd recommend literally printing those out, like creating those user personas and printing them out. Um, that way, okay, I'm targeting top like managers. They kind of look like this. They're in their 40s. This is their goals. This is their motivations. This is their frustrations. That way, it starts to tell you can get a clear image of who you're targeting. That way, whenever you're making a business decision, you'll be like, okay, how would Christina feel about this decision? How would Brian feel about this decision, or this change to the product, or this change to the service? So you use them as as they're the drivers of your business, because that's your customers. Um, and you can make these actually real people as you get real customers. I've actually done it with real people, and I've literally just put their goals, motivation, frustration, so that way I know clearly like we're actually solving for these customers' problems, and they're real customers. That way it's pertinent in the business that we've built. Um, so yeah, identify your target customer, and again, this can be its own process. High level is enough to start testing and revise as you go. It can take time to understand your customer, your target customer. You need to really understand their underserved needs. What needs do they have that are adequately met, that aren't adequately met? What is it that are adequately met? Well, you can know what they are adequately met or aren't adequately met. You can have a problem that what you're trying to find is a problem that nobody has solved yet, and then that becomes your unique value proposition and your unfair advantage. The fact that you've solved an underserved need. It's very, very important. That's why you want to talk to 100 customers is the first thing you should do before you create anything. Um, and you do a lean canvas to kind of understand how you want to structure the business. You want to define your value prop. How will you meet your customers' needs better than your competitors? Of all the needs you can address with your product, which ones will you focus on? So that's your value proposition by understanding the underserved needs. State your MVP feature set. So build only what is needed to create enough value for your target customers to validate the direction of your product. So a lot of people, when they start, so MVP means minimum viable product, and what that means is what's the minimum thing that you can build that solves this underserved need. A lot of people get into the habit when they build a product or app or whatever, is they create way too many features, and they go, oh, but then they're going to need this for this reason, and they're going to need that for that reason. They're going to No, don't do that. You're going to fail before you even start. A good framework to think about the MVP is, if you imagine a donut. So if you imagine a donut and sprinkles on top, so what's the main thing that you're buying when you buy a donut? You know, you're buying the actual donut. Everything else is a sprinkle. So we use this in product management when we're deciding what features to build. What's a sprinkle and what's a donut? Um, and you only want to create what your donut is, what the minimum viable product is, because chances are you're not going to have the resources, like in terms of money or time or energy, if you're trying to make that transition from job to business. You probably only have 1 or 2 days a week, or like after work or something. You really need to focus on what's the main differentiator thing, and the least amount that you can build that solves that problem. Very important to create an MVP feature set, and you want to minimize this. If it's not fundamental, if it's not a hell yes, hell needed, drop it. You know, don't add more things don't focus on crap. Like, focus on the main thing that solves the problem. Um, Make your MVP prototype. Create a version of your product to test your MVP hypothesis. So I'll actually show you what an MVP looks like. I don't have it in here. Car. So this sort of makes it clearer. So a minimum viable product. Say you end up want to build a car. You don't start off with just making a wheel or two wheels or half a body of a car and then you get to the car. It's like this. What solves the problem? The problem is getting from point A to point B. So you can start off with a skateboard, then a scooter, a bicycle, a motorbike, and then you get to a car. This is how you want to build your business and your product. You don't become a like billion-dollar business overnight. It takes iterations and time. And this is, as you make more sales, you increase your resources and ability to do more things. So that's sort of the way you build a company, and you're able to make that transition from a job. Let me jump back in. So then you just make the MVP prototype. You wanna use feedback. to bring your feature set to life with your customers. It's really important to get a shit ton of feedback from your customers. So you give them the product. One thing you can do is just watch how they play with the product or use the product. You don't have to show them. You just give it to them and then see what they do with it. That way you know what buttons they press if it's say an app, where their fingers are actually going, or if it's a product, how they're opening it. Like is it annoying to open, or is it, or how they where they put it, or how they look at it and how they use it. And all you do is you just give them it and you watch. You see how they're using it. Um, that way you can increase you can better increase the user experience by knowing, oh, they struggle to open it, or it's not clear, the instructions, or it's not obvious, right? You really want to make things dumb friendly and 5-year-old friendly, unless you're making a medical product like medicine. You want to, they've got the top lids, they make it hard to open. Then by design, you want to make sure that it's not kid friendly. Um, so it's very important to make things super easy to use. That should be your priority. The bare minimum, and with the bare minimum, super easy to use. That's what you need to do. And then test it out with your customers. Make sure you're testing it out with your target markets, and ask for their feedback. Like, what's the feedback? What did you hate about using this? Or when you were using this, take me through like what happened. Try to ask open-ended questions, so they lead the conversation and not you. Think of yourself as a scientist when you're building a business. A lot of people tend to put their heart on the line with their product and their business. This is a big mistake. You need to be detached from it, and you need to be a bit of a scientist about this. You need to understand your customer, and you need to understand whether you've actually got something that can serve their needs. And you need to be okay with dropping it if it doesn't. Otherwise, you can. I've known people that have spent years building something that ends up having no customers. um, so this process you can run through it 100 times with different target customers, different needs, different MVPs, and you build these. Like an MVP shouldn't take you more than like a couple of weeks to build. If it takes you more than a couple of weeks to build, it's not an MVP. Um, and if you're not a little bit ashamed about how it looks, you've launched too late. This is a startup saying. So you want to, if you're a little bit ashamed with how your first prototype or MVP looks, that's a good thing, um, because you're testing, and that's the most important thing. Um, yeah. So just imagine you're wearing a lab coat, and you're trying to solve that person's needs. You're not Try to detach your heart from it. I know it's really hard, especially if it's your first business. But take it from me, done many businesses. Um, I try not to fall in love with the product. I fall in love with the problem, the underserved needs. If you fall in love with the problem you're solving, the product will change 100 times over. And in fact, a lot of corporates end up dying over time is because they stop solving the customer needs, and they start getting too into their problem, or too into their product, or too into their revenue, that they no longer serve the customer needs properly. This is the huge benefit of startups. Um, Corporates have a real hard time innovating and focusing on customer needs because they're too caught up just trying to keep their jobs and do loss aversion, keep their profits. Whereas if you can really break through and be incredibly agile, that's why you've got a huge advantage over massive companies, contrary to popular belief. Yes, you've got less money, but you've got less, like, you don't have any like real legal problems, or responsibility over having a bunch of employees that you need to pay, or or the need to shareholders to make a return. You don't have any of that shit, so you can just really focus on serving needs and doing this 100 times, and until you really find something special that works. Um, and then you'll get into like a marketing funnel as you go along. You want to know the stages of the customer journey with a marketing funnel. So this is how how you would guide them through making a purchase. So usually you need to interact with a customer 7 times before they make a purchase. So either that's sort of awareness in the background, an ad, an event, whatever, it can take them some interactions with you to close a deal. Um, and you want to understand, and you'll map out the same as you did a persona, the customer journey. I'll show you a little bit what that looks like. Yeah, it's kind of like this. You can keep it simple. Doesn't have to be this complicated. Um, Basically, what you're doing is you're taking the person. So if you remember the persona that we had, you're basically you're trying to monitor exactly how these guys go through and make a decision. How do they find interest or awareness about this thing? Are they already searching for this product? Like, you can use Google's keyword search tool um, to figure out how many people are actually where is it? Google Trends. Yeah, yeah. You can actually figure out, how many people are, say you're selling a coaching product like Roy is, anxiety coaching. Are people searching anxiety coaching, or what are the things that they're searching? It says there's not enough data, and you can compare it with other sorts of, I don't know, soccer coaching. This isn't a good example, but you can start to have a sort of a list, and you can see how many people are searching for this on Google. This is completely free. Um, and then you draw the customer journey of like how they end up going and making a decision about soccer coaching, for example. Um, yeah, you'll learn more about like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. So what you're trying to do is, if you imagine a funnel that looks like this, I don't know if you can see with my hands. What brings you need the top of the funnel to be a shit ton of people. So you want to increase the top of the funnel. That means you want 100, 1,000, 10,000. You want to always be increasing that. And then as they drop in, you want to facilitate and evaluate those who are aware of the product and who you're trying to convert into leads, and then you want to convert them into leads at the bottom. So if you increase the top of the funnel, you'll get more leads that convert at the bottom. So you'll have 100 here, you'll have about it could be 20 or 40 here, and then maybe 10 will make the decision, or 5 out of every 100. So we call that the funnel, the marketing funnel. As you're building your company and growing your team, you'll create like a mission, a vision, and values. I do recommend, after you've done a lot of the customer validation stuff, you write this down for yourself as well, because this is what investors buy into. This is what your customers buy into. This is what your employees buy into. This is what your co-founders buy into. Try to do this early on, as you can in your journey, even if you're still working a part-time job, like you or a job. Try to figure out what's the mission of your company, what's the vision of your company, and what are the values of the company that you want to build. So the mission could be, I really want to solve people committing suicide, for example. So that's like the mission. The vision is that nobody will commit suicide. I know this is really depressing, um, but I want to live in a world where nobody is led to that decision. And the values of the company, I want to make sure we act with integrity, with empathy, um, with honesty. You know, so I'd recommend creating that, so that's really what sort of excites and attracts people. And this has to be true and honest. And you can do this with the people that you're working with. You can understand how your customers feel about you, and you can reflect that in your mission, vision, and values. I forgot to ask, is there any questions so far? I'm sorry if I'm scaring
All good
everyone.
at
This
the
is a lot.
moment.
What was that, Amy?
I said all good at the moment. All really interesting.
Yeah. Try not to be scared too. Like, I know there's a lot of information, but you'll do this over time, and you'll see why naturally, like, it comes to you in your business. Um, uh, right. see if I'll probably leave it there, but yeah, your mission is the reason why your company exists. For example, Innovation Drive, our company, um, our mission is to empower everyday inventors to bring their ideas to market. So our mission is really focused on inventors and empowering them. Our vision, what does success look like for your company? What does your company aspire to be in the future? For example, our company, uh, our vision is that anybody with an idea in the world can instantly turn it into a successful business. Um, and I want to be doing 1,000 a year. Like my goal in the next 3 years is to help 1,000 inventors bring their ideas to market every year. It's really ambitious. It's a bit scary. It's a bit risky, and that's what you kind of want for your vision. And the values. What are the guiding principles that will influence your actions to fulfill your company's mission and value and vision? So for us, like for me, brutal, radical honesty is something I really value in the company. So we have to be able to have tough, um, uh, tough conversations. So like that's one of the values of the company is radical honesty. Another value is fun. We have fun with everything that we do. We love playing around. We think a lot of innovation comes from fun as well. So we really value that. Um, another one is give first. So we believe in giving first before asking or receiving anything. So we're all about doing events like this. We do tons and tons of events just to help people share information. We'll make introductions or just with a give first mentality. Um, that's how we build a larger ecosystem and empower more and more people to do amazing things. So those are some of the values of our company that we really care about. And I care about them because I know them off by heart. A lot of people will just list like so many values. They don't. I'd recommend you keep it like small, like 3 to 5, and genuinely believe them. And you do that with your team. That way you really know them and you really live them. Values means not having, as you grow as a company, say in 5 or 10 years, you don't need to make as many policies of like, don't do this, don't do that, or do this, do that. As long as the people are living your values, they will act with those values and make the right decisions, and you just empower them. So it's really good from a business perspective. It means I have to worry about the culture and ensure that the values are being lived, but I don't need to worry about like making 100,000 policies, which is quite annoying. Become an onerous company. Um, so another thing to understand is sort of to get your company goals is sort of your strategy, your tactics, and execution. So your strategy is how your methods, times, and resources come into play to fulfill your company's mission. That's just like your overall strategy. So 5 years, your 5 year plan, your 3 year plan, your 1 year plan, like what are the longer term things? Your tactics are the specific methods, resources, and techniques you will need to accomplish your strategy. For example, for Roy, some of his tactics are running meetups like this. His strategy, I'm guessing, is to you want it to work anywhere in the world and help people with anxiety anywhere in the world. Is that correct, Roy? Something like that?
Perfect.
Yeah. So, and tactics is like running meetups, networking with people. Those are like your day-to-day type things. The execution is how you employ the tactics you've chosen. It includes like measurable outcomes such as timelines and deliverables. So you're just putting like timelines and like, say, running for Roy in this case would be like running at least one meetup a month. That's like actually having to do it. And then I think that's pretty much it. I think I'll leave it at that. Again, don't let this thing scare you. Start off with like a business model canvas, and literally speaking to 20, 50, 100 customers, and you can just ask them out for coffee. You can ask them out on a Zoom call. A lot of people are willing to give you 20 minutes of their time to discuss things, and you just create a list of open-ended questions to understand the problems that they're solving. I'll give you an example of that. So this is another presentation. I didn't know which one to go with today. But let me see if I can bring up a list of open-ended questions. I should have one here. No, it's on. A customer interview. So it will look like this. Um, when you're trying to validate the problem, is you're trying to understand what the pains are, the like what really makes someone angry or frustrated, or um, is it, and that's how you figure out your underserved needs. And so you can use questions like this. Can you tell me more about the last time you did X? What are the reasons you do X? How often do you do X? Like, is it something that they do every day that annoys them, or every week, or every month? What are you trying to achieve by doing X, Y, or Z? Could you describe the step by step on how you do it? And if you ask them to do that, you can start to figure out their journey. Um, because now they're telling you this step by step. And I've actually done workshops with customers for our own startups on their actual journeys, and they're more than happy to do that with you. Like, what are the step by step? Which is the step is the most time consuming, most difficult, most expensive? We'd actually put like a time measurement on each of the journey parts. Like literally, this takes 20 minutes, this takes 4 hours to try to understand where the problems are in the activity of that they're doing. Um, and getting access to customers, there's like many ways to do that. It can literally just be asking them out for a coffee. It could literally, hey, can I sit beside you in work while you work, kind of thing. That may or may not fly with them. If you're solving a problem for yourself and you're already in that job, like you could probably, maybe you're friends with somebody, they might just let you watch them throughout the day. It sounds a bit funny, like stalking or watching somebody, but like you're trying to understand actually what's difficult, what's time consuming, what's expensive, so you can solve their problem. How often do you experience this problem? Why did you decide to go for X solution or process? Have you ever compared solutions to try to solve that problem? So this is sort of trying to understand why they're going with those existing problems. Um, so this is something you can use, and I'm happy to send you guys this as well, to use when you're trying to understand the customers. And that's pretty much it. Like to go from customer into business, and you can start to as you build that and as you get revenue in. I don't recommend you quit your job until you've got a few sales and you're like, oh, there's something here. When you've got a few sales, a bunch of revenue, then you can decide to make the leap, because you're not as much making the leap. You're confident that, like, hey, here are some of the channels. Here I've already sold like 100 of these products. You can sort of more organically make the switch. Um, and you can even do that. I've had friends like they take a day off of their work and they ask their boss, can they do that, or 2 days off, and they change their roles and then do it slowly. Um, yeah, I think there was are there any questions on that? I think I think we got some questions before we started. Yeah, how do I get investment funds for my idea? So, if you want to get investment funds for your idea, you need revenue. It's a bit counterintuitive, but like you kind of need to show a little bit of success in the business, and to show that your idea works for then people to put in money, in the idea. So if you're making like whatever, a grand a week, 500 bucks a week, whatever it is, as long as you've got that revenue starting to kick in, um, then you put a pitch deck together, and there's so many ways to get sort of investment. You can do crowd equity funding, which like there's a bunch of platforms for that where you can let retail, like you can let everybody invest in the idea for a small amount, like $200 or $1,000. Platforms like Virtual in Australia do this pretty well. Um, you can do, so everyone should have the opportunity to invest in the brands they love. So this way you can get a lot of like friends, family, your own customers to invest in your company. You can go to the big VC funds and send them your pitch deck. Ask them out for coffee. Ask them for their feedback. It's kind of like dating. Um, you need to make sure the investors are right for you. And after that sort of is created, does it hit the metrics for their business, for their investment funds? A lot of them want like a 10x their return. So if they invest 100,000 for 10% of your business, they want to make at least $1 million from your business. A lot of them won't invest unless they're confident that it can become $1 billion business or $100 million business, and they can make $100 million on their money. So you kind of want to understand their needs, and see if they're right for you. It's not like I'm going in begging. It's like, actually, are you right for me? Am I right for you? Kind of like dating. Um, it's actually exactly like dating. It's a marriage. Um, you can get a small amount from friends and family. You can go to seed investors or angel investors. They'll invest like 5,000 to like 25,000 to 250,000, and then you can go into the bigger funds, which is like VC funds and stuff. And you literally just message them or ask them out for coffee, ask them for feedback. You try to establish a relationship. They are they sometimes won't respond unless somebody that they know makes an introduction. So then you need to figure out who is somebody that they know and trust, and you can do that on LinkedIn, by figuring out who their connections are. And then when you figure out somebody that they know and trust, and then and then you try to get in with that person, and then that person can make an introduction to the person with that has investment funds. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it. How do I promote ideas so that it's easy for the layman to understand and better accept? Well, you got to keep it simple, as well. What's the problem you're solving, and how do you solve it? Why should I care? Is the third one. Um, if you can't bring it down to a like one sentence about exactly what you're doing, then you can't. That then what you're doing is really complicated, or you don't understand it. The best way to figure out how to promote your idea so it's easy is to literally go and talk to a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old. Somebody, if you've got a nephew or niece, if you can explain to them what you do and they understand it in like one or two sentences, and the way you can figure that out is you use a comprehension test. So basically, you ask them what um, uh, to pitch you back. So after you've pitched them what your problem you're solving and how you're solving it, you ask them, oh, okay, cool. Can you like pitch me back what I'm doing? And then they'll pitch you back, and then you see if they've understood it or not. It's what teachers do, with students, and you do the same thing. If you can get a someone that's young to understand your business and idea, then you know how to explain it and communicate it, and you can use that in your marketing docs as well. Like your, that's pretty much it. That's what I've got for you today. Are there any other questions on any of that, or things that they want to know in business in general?
Okay, fine.
That's extremely useful. I'm gonna spend a day like scribbling everything down.
What are your like key learnings or takeaways from that?
um, I definitely like the canvas on how to start with that. The idea of actually speaking to people early. So like you say, go out and actually speak to them now, in that starting the creation earlier. I don't think I'd have necessarily done that until further down the line. Um, so yeah, I think they're figuring out that sort of canvas now, and then some questions to go and speak to people. I did like where you said like the mum test, don't do that, because you're very true. They definitely just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah,
Depends on the mum.
absolutely.
Yeah, true. Yeah, very true. Depends on the
My
culture you
mum
come
is like,
from.
what are you doing?
Why are you bothering to do that? Come on.
Totally. But even that is like bad validation, even if they hate it too much because, the nature of the relationship. So, um, yeah, I love that you picked up on
Bias.
the talk to customers early.
Yeah, I think actually going out and having a chat to potential customers be good to do now.
Absolutely. Like, and they'll be your biggest like champions and promoters over time. And, even your first employees a lot of the time, like, would be people that love what you're doing so much that they want to join you. Your investors, as well. A lot of the time, they could be potential customers or people that you're talking to. So It's the scariest part for a lot of people, but it's by far the most important. Like, talk to customers, get out of the building. If only you know about what you're trying to do, then you've got a big problem.